Today, we'll read a news article together, and this is an advanced C1 article. But don't worry, because this lesson is perfect for you if you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced student, because I'll explain everything in detail. You'll improve all areas of your English, your vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, reading, writing, and more. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started.
Our headline, astronomers detect sugar in interstellar space for the first time. Interstellar space is a specific type of space. I'm not an astronomer, but my understanding is that it's the area between stars, because inter means between and then stellar means stars. So that's my everyday understanding of what interstellar space is. And notice here they have the article the. This is grammatically required because first is an ordinal number. I hear a lot of mistakes from students, even my most advanced students. Now, of course, you can use this in the first time, the second time, the third time, but I work on the third floor, for example. So we use this in everyday speech. Just remember, when you have an ordinal number, you need the. What do you notice about my pronunciation between space, sugar? And even look at my mouth position. Hopefully you heard it, but also look at my mouth. Space, sugar. This is spelled with an S, the word sugar, but is pronounced with an SH. And I hear a lot of mispronunciations with this simple word that's used in many contexts. Shh. So that's how you form the SH. Imagine you're telling someone to be quiet, which in North America we do by going like this. Shh. Maybe that isn't relevant to your culture, but that's what we do to tell someone, be quiet. Shh. Sugar. Here's a tongue twister I just made up for you to practice S to SH. Sally and Shelley found sugar in space. And you can be more dramatic with the sounds as you're practicing. Don't worry about taking notes. I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Now let's keep reading. And I just noticed that my shirt looks like space, doesn't it? Looks like this night sky with the stars. I didn't plan that. Astronomers have detected a natural sugar found in raspberries in clouds of interstellar dust and gas near the center of the Milky Way galaxy. This is basically an expanded version of the headline. They gave more information about what type of sugar or where in interstellar space. And notice here what verb tense is used. The present simple, astronomers detect sugar. But in this case, what verb tense is used? The present perfect. Headlines try to be as concise as possible, and often headlines will use the present simple instead of conjugated verbs. You shouldn't learn grammar unless you are doing it with a certified teacher who knows what to teach from headlines, because they don't follow standard grammar rules. But the body of articles always will. The present perfect here is being used because it's a completed past action. They already did this. They detected the sugar 2 weeks ago. Notice there I used the past simple, because when you use a specific past reference 2 weeks ago, you must use the past simple. But here it's the present perfect because there's a connection to the present. So now astronomers can study this sugar further. And I'm sure there are many other implications from this discovery. Astronomers have detected a natural sugar. So what type of sugar? A natural sugar found in raspberries. What do you notice about the pronunciation here? Raspberries. This P is not pronounced. Now notice the S sound. Tell me what you hear. Raspberry. This S is pronounced as a voiced sound. So we already know sugar is SH, but it's unvoiced. Space is S, unvoiced. This S is pronounced as an S, not an SH, but it's voiced. So it's Z, more of a Z sound. This is the IPA, and notice phonetically it's with that voiced S, which is Z, raspberry, raspberry. And then the plural, raspberries, raspberries.
Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson.
The sweet discovery shows for the first time that compounds, so sugar would be a type of compound, that are key to life can form in the vast expanse between stars. So the vast expanse between stars, this is what type of space? Interstellar space. And if something is key to life, just like oxygen is key to life, it means it's essential, it's vital to life. So in this case, it's the compounds, the sugar compounds, because there are many different types of compounds. Now let's go back to here. The sweet discovery. This is a little cheesy. Cheesy is something that they're trying to be funny because they're using a pun. Because sweet, well, sugar is sweet, right? But native speakers also use sweet as an expression to mean that's great or that's awesome in an informal, casual way. So if my friend told me that she got a promotion, I would say, sweet, sweet, that's amazing, sweet. Now, it can be used just for everyday things as well. Oh, sweet, they have the type of tomato sauce I like. Oh, sweet, it's on sale. So it doesn't have to be for major things like promotions. Oh, sweet, we didn't hit any red lights on the way to the airport. So anything that is awesome, amazing, or that's great, you can say sweet. So they're using it to mean those two things. That's a pun. Sugar is sweet, and the discovery is, imagine the astronomer saying, oh, sweet, we discovered sugar in space. But it's cheesy, which means it's not actually funny. Let's read this again. The sweet discovery shows for the first time that compounds that are key to life can form in the vast expanse between stars and fuels optimism. Okay, so this is interesting because the sweet discovery does two things. It shows for the first time, all of that is one thing, and it also fuels optimism. So that's why to fuel means to power. Just think of your car or vehicle that requires fuel in order to operate. So to fuel optimism means that it powers optimism in the sense that it promotes, it encourages, it strengthens optimism. Optimism is a feeling of positive outcomes for the future. And since it's a verb, to fuel, that's why it's in the present simple, because it's the sweet discovery. So all of that is conjugated as it because it's one thing. So it fuels optimism that other molecules important for the origins of life, so important to form life, to create life, you need specific molecules. Don't ask me, but clearly sugar is one of them. Important for the origins of life might be found in space. So notice the preposition in space, in space. And might is a modal of possibility. So it's possible, but at the same time, because they say might, it's also not possible. It has both of those. Now, because it's a modal, grammatically, you have your base verb, modal plus base verb, might be found in space. Let's keep reading. A team led by astronomers at Spain's Center for Astrobiology, so biology, astro, space, so biology related to space, astrobiology detected the sugar. So here, notice they're using the past simple. They're just viewing it as a completed past action now, rather than the present perfect, which would show a connection to the present. Detected the sugar, which is made of 4 carbon atoms. You'd probably have to be a biologist to understand the importance of this compared to regular sugar. I do not know. Perhaps you do and can tell me. How is this different from the sugar that we have on Earth? I'm not sure. And notice, in space, on Earth. Different prepositions. In space, on Earth. And notice this use of made of. Don't say made from. When you use made from, one thing is transformed into another. So the best example I thought of is wine is made from grapes. So you take grapes and it transforms entirely into a different product called wine. But made of, you can think of it as consists of. So you have sugar, and if you look in a microscope, I assume, you can see the individual carbons, individual atoms, the 4 carbon atoms that together create sugar. So consists of, made of. Let's keep reading. Sugars. So notice here, sugars, and they added an S. Let me read this and then think about why. Sugars play a pivotal role in living systems. Why is this now with an S when before they were talking about sugar, the sugar, and maybe before we just even had sugar? Let's see. A natural sugar. So a sugar, the sugar, and sugars. The sugar is a specific sugar, the one that they detected in interstellar space. A sugar is any sugar, is not specific. Now here, sugars, when you add an S to the noun, it means the entire category of that noun. So if you say, for example, dogs are cute, you mean all dogs. You're not looking at a specific dog and saying that dog is cute or the dog is cute. So dogs in general are cute, the entire category. So that's what they're doing with sugars. They are referring to the entire category. Now, since it's plural, they, that is our subject, they play. That's why our verb doesn't have an S. Sugars play a pivotal role. Pivotal, again, you can think of this as extremely important or essential role in living systems. Helping to provide energy. So this is how they play a pivotal role. Helping to provide energy, build biological structures, and form parts of genetic material such as RNA and DNA. This is interesting for me. I did not know this. Now here they used this as an introduction, and then they used helping, which is in the gerund form, but helping, and then everything is in the infinitive, to provide energy. Now, because we already have 1, 2, you don't need to repeat the to, but you could grammatically, you could say to build biological structures and to form parts of genetic material. And then these are 2 examples of genetic material introduced by such as RNA and DNA. You could use this when you're introducing anything in an everyday context. I love baking desserts such as pies, and cupcakes. So I just gave you two examples of desserts that I love baking. So you can use this in everyday context as well. Now, if you wanted to continue on and have this as one sentence, you could also use a gerund. So you could use the preposition by, and then all of your verbs would be in the gerund form. So you could say sugars play a pivotal role in living systems by providing energy, building biological structures, and forming parts. Now, grammatically, that's possible, but there's a difference between helping to do these things and by doing these things. Mine sounds more definitive, and maybe from a scientific perspective, it's more accurate to use helping to rather than just by providing energy. But grammatically, what I explained is possible. Scientifically, perhaps it isn't accurate. Let's keep reading. Researchers identified the sugar. So now it's the sugar, which means the sugar they detected in interstellar space. If you just said the space sugar, I would have accepted that. So it's a specific sugar, the one that they've already identified. Researchers identified the sugar by comparing its molecular signature in the radio wave data. So just like humans have a signature apparently to be unique to them, but of course, you could show me your signature and I could copy it or attempt to copy it. But our fingerprint, on the other hand, would be unique to us, not our actual signature. But a molecular signature, just like our fingerprint, gives us that information about the molecules. Molecular signature in the radio wave data from the molecular cloud with the wavelength pattern. I'm going to be honest. I don't quite understand the significance of this. I understand the words, but I'm not quite sure exactly what a wavelength pattern or a molecular cloud is. I have to be honest. From the sugar measured in the laboratory. So again, let's stick to the grammar and the English language that I can explain rather than the complex topic of molecules, which I am not an expert on. So this sugar would be a replacement to the sugar. So the sugar, or again, you can use this for a specific thing after it's been identified. So this sugar, the sugar. Now, my basic understanding of this is it's the process they use to confirm that the substance they had from interstellar space was in fact sugar. I hope my understanding is correct. Let's continue. The team initially searched for simpler sugars with 3 carbon atoms, but didn't find any. So their assumption was the substance that they had from space would be a simple sugar. And how do you determine is simple? By the number of atoms, by carbon atoms it has. So they thought it would be a simpler sugar with 3 carbon atoms, but they didn't find any. So their assumption was incorrect, or their assumption was false. Grammatically, just remember when you search for something. This is a mistake I see even from advanced students. You search for, and then the noun here, it's simpler sugars. And then this is more information about the simpler sugars. Let's keep reading. The study suggested that this specific sugar, so they're using the word specific, but that it's also what is included in the word this or this specific sugar can be made from simpler molecules on icy dust grains in space. So you can remember we reviewed the difference between made from and made of. Made from is when you take one substance and it turns into another substance. So the one substance would be simpler molecules. Now, where do you find these molecules? On icy dust grains in space. So this is just the location. But you take simpler molecules and they transform into sugar. The specific sugar that they've already identified, the one with 4 carbon atoms, because clearly that's important scientifically. Now, made of is when that sugar consists of, remember, made of 4 carbon atoms or 3 carbon atoms, whatever it might be. So that's why they're using made from to mean transform into. In space, remember, on Earth, in space, and may then become part of more complex chemical systems. Now, what those more complex chemical systems are, I'm not sure. Maybe they don't know either because they're just researching this. But important to know that they use may, which again means there's a possibility, just like might, may become, might become. So it's not guaranteed to happen. And may then become. So may is still our modal, and the next verb is in the base form because that's the grammatical requirement. They're divided by an additional word, then become, to talk about the process. So first, second, third. So first, then, next. So then is a replacement to second or even third or fourth in a process or instructions. May then become part of more complex chemical systems. Scientists have detected more than 340 molecules in the matter and gases that exist in the Milky Way's interstellar space. So again, now they're talking about interstellar space, which is between stars, but in a specific area in the Milky Way galaxy, but no sugars. So they're saying they have found many other things. They're being specific so you know, wow, it's not just 1 or 2 other things, it's 340. That seems like a lot. But out of these 340 other molecules, no sugars. And they're using sugars in the plural because it implies that there are different types of sugar. So a 3 carbon atom sugar, a 4 carbon atom sugar. I don't know what other types of sugar there are. So that's what they mean by sugars in the plural. Just know for everyday use, you could use that in the sense of, I know of 3 types of sugar off the top of my head. White sugar, regular sugar, brown sugar, that's very common in baking, and cane sugar, which is more of which is white sugar, but it's a more natural form of sugar, as far as I know, less processed, more natural. So that's 3 different types of sugar. So you could refer to those 3 as sugars, but sugar is uncountable in common use of the word, in the type of sugar that you would use to put in your coffee or to put in a recipe. So in an everyday use, you would say, would you like sugar in your coffee? No S. We're out of sugar, no S, because it's uncountable in a general sense that you would use for drinks, baking, eating. Let's keep reading. Scientists have long wondered how sugar molecules, so now it's not sugar, it's sugar molecules. The noun is molecules. Sugar describes the noun. What type of molecules? Sugar molecules first formed on Earth. So notice here, have long wondered. This is a great example of how you can use the word long, because you can absolutely say scientists have wondered for a long time, or for a long time scientists have wondered. Or scientists have wondered how sugar first formed on Earth for a long time. So the time reference is for a long time. You can put it at the very beginning of the sentence, the very end of the sentence, or as close to the verb as possible. Scientists have wondered for a long time how sugar molecules first formed on Earth. Now here, instead of using for a long time, they're putting long before the verb. Long wondered. You could say she's long believed that honesty is important. This is a more emphatic way of saying she's believed that honesty is important for a long time. She's long believed that. Oh, don't try arguing with her. She's long believed that. Or I've long known that I want to become an astronaut. So we can use this with our own personal aspirations or goals as well to mean for a long time. And again, it just sounds more emphatic, more emphasized, stronger. Scientists have long wondered how sugar molecules first formed on Earth. Lab experiments have shown they do not form easily under the extreme conditions thought to exist in the earliest chapter of Earth's history. So notice they're using the earliest chapter of Earth's history. Honestly, I don't know what that would be, but clearly they're saying extreme conditions. So perhaps the Earth was a lot hotter or a lot colder. We know of the Ice Age, right? Now, thought to exist, meaning that they have evidence, but it's not factual. That's when you can use thought to exist, instead of simply saying conditions, under the extreme conditions that existed in the earliest chapter of Earth's history. So one chapter would be one time period. The time period when dinosaurs existed, that's a chapter. The time period of the Ice Age, that's a chapter. So the earliest chapter of Earth's history, I don't know what that is. Do you? Makes me feel like I should know, but I do not. And these extreme conditions, I don't know at all what they were. Were they extreme heat, extreme cold, extreme something else? I'm not sure. But the purpose of this section is to say that so sugar is not easy to form, and they feel like it wouldn't have formed when Earth was first created or first came into existence. So how did sugar get on Earth if it wasn't here when Earth was created or came into existence? That's the purpose of this. Scientists have long wondered how sugar molecules first formed on Earth. And then they gave the reason why they've wondered this, because it seems unlikely that sugar would be here at the beginning of Earth's history due to those extreme conditions, which I do not know what they are. Please, someone inform me. Previous detection of sugars. So again, here, sugars in the plural, meaning different types of sugar. Of sugars such as, perfect, because this is the second time that we've used such as. And now you know they're going to list examples. Ribose is a type of sugar. Glucose is a type of sugar. So that's why sugar is plural. Detection of sugars such as ribose and glucose in primitive meteorites and in samples from the asteroid Bennu collected in 2020 suggested to scientists that some sugars may have originated in space. And again, sugars because some types of sugar. So some sugars may have originated in space. Because remember, they have these extreme conditions on Earth, which made the formation of sugar unlikely. But again, they're using that language may, which makes sense because without it, it sounds like a fact. May just sounds like a possibility. And that's the end of the article. Wow, how did you do? I feel like I need to read this article again to truly understand the scientific explanation presented in the article. And I may have to study some of these concepts more myself, because you can understand the words from the English language perspective, but still not understand the meaning or significance of those words. So if you understood this article and if you followed along or understood to the extent that an everyday person without a scientific or astrobiological background would have, your English is truly excellent. Congratulations. What I'll do now is I'll read the article from start to finish, and you can focus on my pronunciation. Astronomers detect sugar in interstellar space for the first time. Astronomers have detected a natural sugar found in raspberries in clouds of interstellar dust and gas near the center of the Milky Way galaxy. The sweet discovery shows for the first time that compounds that are key to life can form in the vast expanse between stars, and fuels optimism that other molecules important for the origins of life might be found in space. A team led by astronomers at Spain's Center for Astrobiology detected the sugar, which is made of 4 carbon atoms. Sugars play a pivotal role in living systems, helping to provide energy, build biological structures, and form parts of genetic material such as RNA and DNA. Researchers identified the sugar by comparing its molecular signature in the radio wave data from the molecular cloud with the wavelength pattern for this sugar measured in the laboratory. The team initially searched for simpler sugars with 3 carbon atoms, but didn't find any. The study suggested that this specific sugar can be made from simpler molecules on icy dust grains in space and may then become part of more complex chemical systems. Scientists have detected more than 340 molecules in the matter and gases that exist in the Milky Way's interstellar space, but no sugars, the study noted. Scientists have long wondered how sugar molecules first formed on Earth. Lab experiments have shown they do not form easily under the extreme conditions thought to exist in the earliest chapter of Earth's history. Previous detection of sugars such as ribose and glucose in primitive meteorites and in samples from the asteroid Bennu collected in 2020 suggested to scientists that some sugars may have originated in space.
Amazing job with this lesson. Do you want to keep learning English with the news? If you do, put yes, 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 put yes, yes, yes in the comments below. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And here's another lesson I know you'll love. Watch it now.